You want to wipe out somebody's family, neighborhood, and community? Guess what? There are people that hate you and want to kill you, and that's what you're going to see more of. There's going to be revenge.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, Gerald, how do people we're talking with Gerald Celente. Gerald, what do people do? How do they prepare? I think you're right on the money with what's coming in the economy, with what's coming with the war. What do people like in my neighborhood, people listening to the program, how do they prepare? What do they do for they can survive in their families?
Number one, get money out of the bank. Don't keep a lot of money in the bank because there may be a bank holiday. Does that sound crazy? They've done it before. They did it under FDR. Holiday. You can't get your money out. Number two, well, look what happened when 9/11 hit. I had certificates of deposit I wanted to cash out. I couldn't cash them out because they closed down Wall Street. And they're financial instruments traded on Wall Street. You can't cash them out. That's what they told me. Number three is, and I'm not telling people to do any of these things, only what I do. I believe in gold, and I believe that the gold's going to see $2,000 an ounce. And also, align yourself with like-minded people. Prepare for the worst. Consider this the end of the summer. The grasshoppers that have been hopping around all year singing the summer of recovery that the propaganda chiefs like Biden shoved down our throat, and believe it? Well, when the harsh winter comes, only the ants are going to survive. But the ants do it through a colony. So do it through like-minded people. So have money on hand. I'm not saying pull all your money out of the bank, but consider having it in your hands because you ain't making any money by keeping it there. And it's not that safe. How many of them they closing? And how broke is the FDIC? Oh, your money's insured, they're going to tell you. But you just can't get it out all at once. That's what they tell you in third world countries, and that's what they're going to tell you in America that's also going third world. Don't spend an extra dime you don't need to spend, and anything you do, buy quality and support your local merchants. Break the chains. When the chains break and the money starts flowing back into Main Street, then America comes back.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You're right on the money. Gerald Celente, thank you for coming on the Fabian Calvo program. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll join us again in the future.
I'd love to. Thank you, Fabian. All the best.
All right, thanks. Take care, Gerald.
Bye-bye.
That was Gerald Celente. I mean, if you look back at his record, he's been right on. He predicted the dot-com bubble, the housing bubble, the Tea Party. He's been right on the money. And people like this, the pundits on CNBC, CNN, even Fox News, they look at someone like Gerald, even though some of those networks bring Gerald on, and they say, oh, he's part of the fringe. The reality is he's been right on the money. When you look at the predictions from people like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, the ones who have called it wrong all along, they're still given credibility by the mainstream media. It just doesn't make any sense. That's why I tell you all the time, you need to unplug yourself from the mainstream media. It's owned by 90% of all cable news networks are owned by 4 or 5 gigantic corporations that are pushing their agenda. Unplug. Find your own information. Look online. Investigate yourself. That's the only way we turn this thing around. We're going to take a quick break. It's the Fabian Calvo program. Be back in just a minute. We're back. It's the Fabian Calvo program. So I'll tell you that Gerald Celente interview, Gerald's something else. He gets all riled up and gets going, and, you know, it's great. I heard him in another interview one time talking about how every night he meditates, he eats a clean, organic diet, stays away from the McDonald's and all the other junk food that so many people just, you know, shove down there. And it's hard. I mean, you know, I eat McDonald's sometimes. It's hard. I've tried to make it a point of staying away from it, though, I'll tell you. But enlightening interview. I mean, these are the kinds of things we talk about on this program all the time. It's, you know, prepare in uncertain times. Let's restore this constitutional republic so that our children and grandchildren can grow up in the kind of countries that our parents and grandparents grew up in. And we're losing that every single day because we have a bunch of elitist politicians that are out of touch with we the people, completely out of touch. Now, this next story is really something else. It's corporations that own U.S. Congress, and it just talks about how basically how Congress, they're bought and paid for. You know, we have this clip here of this story of this Congresswoman, I think it was Norman Hale, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, right? And she's just one example of many. Okay, so this isn't just an isolated incident where it's her and it's the Democrats. No. Okay, it's all of them. This is what happens. This is a clip of her calling the lobbyists and basically saying, look, I need money. I'm on the head of the transportation committee. I can build you a bridge or a tunnel, whatever you want. I need money. And I've noticed you haven't contributed to my campaign. That's kind of insulting. Here's the clip. Drudge had it on a couple days ago. Go ahead, Bill.
This is Eleanor Norton, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton. I noticed that you have given to other colleagues on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. I am a senior member, a 20-year veteran, and am chair of the Subcommittee on Economic Development, Public Buildings, and Emergency Management. I'm handling the largest economic development project in the United States now, the Homeland Security compound of 3 buildings being built on the old St. Elizabeth's Hospital site in the District of Columbia, along with 15 other sites here that are part of the stimulus. I was frankly surprised to see that we don't have a record, so far as I can tell, of your having given to me, despite my...
Okay, so that's basically just an example of how it's a racket.
In fact,
of how the whole system works. And New York Times, if you want to go ahead and cut it, Bill. The New York Times came out with an article talking about how it's a $3.5 billion business, 13,000 lobbyists, okay, for 585 members of Congress. All right, now think about that. 13,000 of them. And basically, this is how our government is currently run. They just give me the money, and I'll build you a fish tank, or I'll build you a bridge to nowhere, or whatever it is that you want. And the American people, we're the ones who are getting shafted. These people are supposed to represent us. They take an oath to uphold the Constitution. You think that's being done? They're upholding the rights of the too big to fails. That's what they're doing. Like Gerald said earlier in the interview, who came up with this term, too big to fail? Growing up, I never in my life heard about too big to fail. In America, if you can't make it, you can't make it. That's it. You have to, fail and learn from that mistake and start all over. But somewhere along the lines, the Harvard, Princeton, Yale crowd, they came up with the too big to fail lingo. And now all the Americans believe during the bailouts, during the TARP fund, they're too big to fail. If they go down, the economy goes down. That's not true. That's just not true at all. And the politicians are bought off. This is why, look, we had a great victory in Delaware with the Tea Party movement winning against an establishment rhino, right? But already you're seeing the mainstream media and talk show tough guys that try to attach themselves to the Tea Party, tell them what to do. The Tea Party is just a group of American people that have had enough with an out-of-control government. That's what it's all about. And as the Tea Party movement, or a movement like it, gains more popularity, and the Americans realize that their problems will not be solved by Republicans or Democrats, then that's when the establishment will begin to dig in their heels. That's when they will fight for power and control. And already, look at how hard it is to get a third-party candidate on the ballot. It's almost impossible in some places, in some states. The other, Charlie Crist, who I don't like at all. I don't know him personally, but I'm saying I don't like his politics at all. He's like 9th on the ballot. Now, when he ran as a Republican, he was first on the ballot, I believe. Right? Just it goes by alphabetical order. But in Florida, we have a state law that the two major parties, they get the first privilege of who's first and second. Then every other party afterwards, then their names go on there. Why is that? And again, they pass laws to hold on to their own power and control. All right, it's the Fabian Calvo Show. When we get back, we're going to be talking to Bryan Erkey. He's the creator of OutlivesHeep.com. It's a great website with a bunch of different resources, news stories. Quick break. We'll be back in a second.
Got an opinion? The phone lines are open. Call Fabian now. 727-441-3000. Or toll free 1-866-826-1340.
All right, so now we're going to bring on, we have Bryan Erkey. He's the founder and creator of OutlivesHeep.com. Bryan, how are you today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Bryan, thanks for joining us. You have I came across Outlive Sheep about maybe 4 or 5 months ago, or about that time. It's a great resource. I tell my audience all the time, Bryan, unplug from the mainstream media that is basically pushing the propaganda. Turn it off and look for people that are actually giving you some truth. You have an interesting story about how you created the site. Why don't you share with my listeners a little bit about the site and about yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Bryan Erkey. I'm the founder of OutlivesHeep.com, as Fabian has said. And I have a marketing degree and a emphasis in organic chemistry as well. And I'm in the construction sales, and really how this whole thing started, I'm just like you. I'm on the main street. I had a great income, a six-figure income, selling to the government on the border fence projects from Texas through California, as well as other construction sites. And what happened in 2008, basically overnight, with the bailouts of the banks and things collapsed, the money froze up almost instantly, causing my family's life into a tizzy just financially. And from that,